Our biggest update of the year, 4.0, is finally here! A lot of cool new stuff are being added in 4.0. We got mail! Or you got mail. Calendar, feeds, and arguably the most important part of the update, translations, powered by Lingvanex. This is a super important launch for us, and I want to dive into the translations feature a bit more, and that's why I've invited my coworker, QA engineer, and also a huge bike fan, Rory, to talk about this.
Hello, Previn.
Before we go into 4.0, I just have to ask you something because I have been following you on Twitter. It's not this picture I saw. There was one other that someone took of you on the 17th of May, I think, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's a very low quality image, the 17th of May one, because it's raining and he's done it from a distance, but I know the one you mean, yeah.
What is it called?
It's got a few different names. So in English, originally, when these kind of bikes first appeared, at the end of the 1800s, they were just called bicycles. In fact, in the English language, this is the first device to be called a bicycle. And when modern bikes appeared, which had like normal size wheels and a chain and stuff, because they were safer, they used to refer to those as safety bikes. And then they kind of backronym this to like, they would call this ordinary bikes. So technically speaking, this is an ordinary bike.
Maybe we should move on to what we were actually going to talk about. The translation feature. I guess it's been in the works for quite a long time, but finally it's here. But to like bring it back on the ground level, what is a translation feature in the browser?
I mean, most people are familiar because in other popular browsers, our rivals and so on, they often include this feature. I think Chrome was one of the first, maybe the first to include it. Because Google had a translation service. And I mean, what it basically does is when you're on a page, it allows and you're viewing it in a language which is not your own, it allows it to be translated into your own language so that you can read it. And I think for many of us who are bilingual, I know you are as well. I mean, you're speaking in English now with me, and I know a little Norwegian. I think that the thing you really get out the web is when you can visit more sites, right? And particularly for those who don't speak English, even more so, because so much of the web and interesting content is in English. We have a big user base in countries like Japan and so on, where a lot of them don't speak English to the same level as, say, a Norwegian or an Icelandic guy. And it just opens up so many more websites because you can read it now. You can read it. And the good thing with the translation in the modern world in 2021 is how high quality it is. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some terrible mistakes sometimes. And if you're able to read both languages, I think you sometimes realize this reads very strangely. And when you translate it back, you realize what they've done. And it's not perfect, but it is good. And it is getting there. And I think, it's now something that users expect. They see it on other browsers, and they know Vivaldi is a fully featured browser. And it was a question we had. Where is Translate? Where is Translate? So, yeah, now it's here.
Okay, so that's the what. And how have we been able to implement this in our browser?
I think I should explain also why it wasn't there. That's a large part of it. So the way it fundamentally works is you go to a website and either it auto-translates depending on your settings, or you click on a button to translate. And we prompt you, we realize this is not your native language. Do you want to translate this? Right? Then a little dialogue appears and you click on it, and it will translate it into your language. Translating languages is an intensive task. It's we have a dedicated server set up with a whole bunch of GPUs. These are like graphics processing units, and they're actually used for doing the translations. That sounds unusual, but if you look at other tasks which are very processor intensive, the mining of Bitcoin, which people talk a lot about today, is also done on GPUs. So we have this good setup for it. Translation is based on machine learning, which a lot of people have heard of before. This is where machines see, they're given a large data set of lots of data, and they're trying to see connections of how things are built up and so on. And those kind of things are problematic to run locally. Not everyone would have a suitable machine. You would have to download the whole data set of the different languages and so on. So it has to be sent to the server. And that's the interesting thing. So you go to a page, you click to translate, it takes some of the text that you're reading and it sends it to the server. The server translates it and it sends it back. And right here at this point, this is why I'm saying we didn't have it before. One, it's a very hard thing to do. Making translation software is like a big problem itself. That's a whole company problem. If you Google, you can have a whole division, but other people have companies for this. That was one problem. There's the processing power thing as well. So what we got lucky with here is we partnered with a really cool company called Lingvanex. And this is what they do. What they let us do is they let us run the software on our own servers. And that was super important to us and our user base, because I think we've developed a certain level of trust that few companies in the browser business have. We're not part of the so-called big tech. We're not an advertising company. We don't really have an interest in what you're viewing or what you're reading other than to help you view it. Whereas you could argue that other companies like Google, maybe they do. So I think what really allowed us to have it was finding this deal with Lingvanex to allow us to host it ourselves so that we have a level of trust which we can pass on to our users. And that's really the key. So it's just a happy set of circumstances that we found the right partner at the right time and they let us host it the way we wanted to. So as to how it works, very simply, you go to the page, you click translate, some of your text from the page sent to the server, just a part of it, not the whole page, because we want to minimize, how much data is sent back and forth and it's less process intensive. That's sent to the server, translated, sent back, and we replace all the page on all the text on screen with the language that you've selected, and then you can just read it locally.
My extra question on the why is, why do we want to have a feature like translations in our browser?
Yeah, I probably touched on it a bit before, but I think it's twofold. It's one, to allow those users who are experienced in the web and can benefit from all our other great features. We have so many great features in terms of tabs and quick commands and so on, to be able to also experience all of the web. A browser is only useful if you can actually browse. You can have all the features in the world, but if you can't see the content, you can't digest the content, what is the point? So this is about just making it more accessible, like more sites more accessible to our user base. And as I said, we have a user base who I think, and generally users in the internet, are becoming increasingly privacy aware. And I think one of the things that they realized is that some of these companies, they have certain agendas. I'm not going to comment on right or wrong too much, but they want to know things about you. And what you browse on the web is very interesting in terms of targeting ads and so on to you. Because if you think about, if I go to certain sites and they can see what site I went to, that's very interesting. Then you know the level of interest someone has. Not only that, you know how much of the page that they read. And also, there are many web pages that are not accessible from the wider internet. For those of you who are working in companies where you have an internal intranet, websites just for your company, those pages are also sent if you click translate. So when you're reading your internal wiki or anything like that and you translate it via the browser, that is also sent to Google. This is not information that they could have got via any other means. What they do with the information, I don't know. But of course, the speculation and the worry for some people is that they will use it to target or pinpoint you or narrow you down into like this, we know this much about a person. And as I said, we're not an advertising company. Yes, we have that same data. Our privacy policy is very clear, and GDPR, which we must comply with, ensures that we don't do anything that we say we don't do with it. And so we just throw it away after we're done. We don't care anymore. And I think that's the powerful use case for using our translation service over another one, is a level of trust that we would hope that our users have in us.
When you use a translation feature in Google, for example, if I translate something, they store the data to improve the translation. Is there any difference between our translation feature and others in that sense?
At the moment, I mentioned our partner before, Lingvanex, who obviously have created the software. They're providing the software, which we run, and obviously the data set. That's like all the data that the software uses to work out how to do the translations to us. But we're not doing any collection ourselves. We're just receiving the static from them to improve translations, to get better ones in the future. I would guess we would need an update from them. Or maybe we'll change something in the future, in which case we would communicate that in our privacy policy or so on. But as of right now, we're not using the data that we receive to improve the engine. So it is literally just thrown away at that point. I just want very quickly just to mention the people we have working on this. We have our own sysadmin team who set up the software and maintain the servers and so on. There's like three, 4 people who are working on that server side. And also, on the client side, the browser itself, we have one of our most experienced engineers, a guy called Petter Nielsen, who worked in Opera for years as well before, and he's done all of the UI and so on. Just a side note, I just wanted to mention them. I mean, it's basically a 3-way thing between Lingvanex, our sysadmin team in PETA, who've got this thing out.
Quick shout out.
Yeah, quick shout out.
Quickly summarize. Yes, your privacy will be protected using this feature. We're partnered with Lingvanex, awesome company that helps us out with the translations. And it's also usable on Android. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, everything that I've said is actually totally true for Android. The browsers are not always total feature parity, but I think for a lot of our main features and the things that people really care about, and these server-side features, like this, like sync and translate, we keep them totally the same. So yeah, you can totally use it you could use it in your Android browser, and we'd have to do that. I mean, everyone is browsing on their phones nowadays. So yeah. Definitely use it on Android. No problem there.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah.
And I hope that the people who are watching this got some more knowledge out of this. I think I did. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was great to chat with you. Can't wait to see you again in the office when all of this COVID thing is over as well.
Yeah, same. But I'm not going to use your bicycle. Just so we're clear.